Welcome to the Millionaire Mindset and Strategy Secrets podcast, the podcast for visionary women ready to break through the old rules of business and step into next level leadership, income, and impact. My name is Maggie. I'm a business mentor, strategist, and former multi six-figure entrepreneur turned soul-led advisor for women who aren't here to play small.
And I'm Stephanie, an ex-corporate gal turned serial entrepreneur, a CEO, mindset mentor, and boundary strategist. I help women clean up their time leaks so they can run their business on their terms. And if you've been feeling like you've outgrown your current strategy, you're craving smarter systems, deeper alignment, and more spacious success, you're in the right place.
So every week, we'll dive into behind the scenes strategy, energetics, and mindset shifts that help high achieving women create thriving businesses that feel like home. This is where vision meets execution and $1 million growth starts from the inside up. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Millionaire Mindset and Strategy Secrets podcast. My name is Maggie. I am your co host, and today I am joined by Paulina Xerri, who is one of our speakers for the summits that we host. And Paulina, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, who you serve, and anything that feels really fun.
Yeah, hey Maggie, it's so wonderful to be on your podcast today. So thanks so much for having me. And sorry if I'm shivering. It's actually really cold here in Australia where I am right now, and I've just put my heating on, so I'm slowly defrosting. Um, look, I call myself a business leadership coach. I've actually been, I guess my old positioning was a business and mindset coach. My business is called BAM, which stands for Business and Mindset Madam. And I pivoted my business this year to really focus on business leadership. And my whole concept comes from a place and probably the mindset side of the work that I love doing, my life coaching. I'm a trained life coach. All comes back to what I believe is a mask that hides our potential. And the work that I do with my clients is just all about understanding who you are behind your mask. You may have also heard of it called a role. So, like a good girl mask was the mask that I wore for most of my life. And once I resigned and took her off, everything started to change for me. And I really have learned, particularly, this change in my business that I started at the start of the year. I've actually now realized that this is my gift, and I think it takes some time in business for us to actually really know what our genius zone is. And the only way to know what your genius zone is, and it sounds a bit Dr. Seussy, is just to actually learn how to get into your genius zone. And that's all part of the work that I do with my clients now, is teaching them how to resign their mask and live within their superconscious soul, which is your genius zone. So that's the work that I do now, and absolutely having a blast with it, because the blast comes from actually seeing, even though I saw it in my business coaching, the tangible results you see as a business coach is obviously the income, the number of clients that you see your clients scaling towards. But for me now, it's really on a personal level, seeing my clients thrive from the inside out. Their businesses are growing, but also is their life, better relationships, better health, better connections, better ways to manage their emotions, their boundaries, their needs. And that's what's just giving me a lot of joy right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. And there's so much power, right? Like the tangible results are great, but when you have that, like those kind of intangible things where all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, everything is working.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
working. It's working.
Yeah.
What?
I call it like the silent success,
Hmm.
because those things are, it's the whole when you plant seeds. And I actually noticed this recently in my garden, because I have a dog that tears up our garden. And so I, quartered off an area and I planted a whole heap of seeds in autumn, thinking, well, by spring the grass will be great. And I liken it to personal development, because secretly the grass has been growing, and I'd noticed a couple of weeks ago, like all this lawn has come back. And it actually made me really smile because that's personal development. You literally wake up one day, the seeds have been planted when you've decided to be better, to change because you want something in the external world. It could be wealth, it could be a successful business. So you've planted the seeds, but we don't sit and watch the grass grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We go off and do things, and that's with personal development when you're consistently focusing on yourself. And one thing I know working with female entrepreneurs is that's probably the biggest problem. It's all business and no development, or the business side learning, how to grow the business, get leads, convert sales, all important, don't get me wrong, but that sort of trumps the leadership side, and that's where the confidence, the fatigue, the burnout, the procrastination, all those problems emerge,
Hmm.
which makes those business skills harder, to get tangible results in.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And, it's funny because my grandma always used to say, well, a watched pot never boils when I would tell her things about my business and, kind of like, oh, I'm waiting, like
Awesome.
I'm working towards these things and, and that was like her,
Oh,
right? Like her wisdom. And I didn't understand
you
it at
need to
first.
share that quote. I need that quote. That's absolutely beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I never understood. I mean, I understand it now, but it took me it probably like 5 years ago when all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I watched
Yeah.
like and I was literally watching a pot of water on the
Yeah.
stove, right? Like trying to make
Yep.
dinner, like, come on,
Yep.
hurry, hurry, hurry. And I'm like,
Yep.
a watched pot never boils. Oh my,
Yep. I love it. A
whoa.
watch pot never boils. That's my bam moment for today. I'm taking
Yeah.
it.
I love it. I love it. So this leads really well into our first question today. So what is
Yeah.
actually working in your business right now? The strategy, mindset, something else? Like what is delivering results for you and even for your clients?
Yeah. Look, I will say, I've been running the business side of like my business coaching for over 7 years. So really at the start of the year, or last year when I had done my strategy and I decided, right, this is the year that I'm really going to make my Leading Without a Mask program a thing now. Um, what worked what worked immediately first was changing my messaging. Like first just committing to it. Pivoting your business is like doing a startup all
Yeah.
over again. That light bulb went off very quickly. And but one thing I realized was no, I've got to attack my messaging. I've got to actually really own my messaging. This is who I am, like this is who I'm speaking to, like target audience, this is who I'm speaking to. These are the problems I know that I'm addressing. This is what I'm solving problems in this space with, and being very clear on my positioning through just messaging and just speaking to the person that I know that I'm helping. So that was kind of like the number one thing that's really helped me go from Paulina, the business and mindset coach, to that one thing that I want to be known for. It's probably the second thing is my gift being able to help you take your mask off so that you can now be who you are at your core. So everything in your life, business, career can grow. So the messaging was one. And then the second thing was just owning the space.
Hmm.
And owning the space comes from when you have clarity on your unique positioning. And that's the space that I own. And I always see, I always say to my clients, you've got to create the rock star. Decide the rock star that you're going to become. And there are some wonderful women, I always like brainstorm what women are out there doing some wonderful things right now. Mel Robbins, American Mel Robbins, her books
Hmm.
dropped here in Australia. And, she's really crafted her space,
Yep.
in the life coaching world. And she's done it so well. So, again, someone that I'm just like, yep, she's created a rock star moment.
Yeah.
There's another lady that I love on videos that I'm seeing, Ellen. I've sorry, I've forgotten her surname, but her name's Ellen, and she's beautiful American, big blonde hair, and she's really like nailed it as far as being really good at sales and public speaking. I'm going, that's another person that's again, really created their rock star moment. So that they're two things that I have been doing, am doing in my business that are taking what no one knew. I'm like from scratch to
Yeah.
building an audience, building a name, becoming known for my whole leading without a mask. Like the whole mask thing is my rock star that I'm building, so to
Yeah.
speak.
I love that. And that's so cool. And I think, there's a lot of power behind that to kind of create that rock star moment, or that, like,
Yeah.
it's like creating that goal, I guess, right? If you're in business, you've
Yeah.
got a goal, you've got to be working towards something.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just going to be swerving all over, and you're going to be
Yeah.
here, there, and everywhere. And I think a lot of people, they get into this industry, especially the coaching industry, right? They get into the industry and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to make 10K months,
Yeah.
100K
Yeah.
years."
Yeah.
But they're not clear in their messaging. So I love that you pointed
Yeah.
that out, and being clear in your messaging. Because I think there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I'm also kind of scared to put my
Yeah.
message out there, because what if somebody doesn't like it? What if,
That's
right?"
right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome to just like own those things for yourself and give
Yeah.
yourself permission to own those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, 100%. I do think probably a challenge that a lot of coaches do have, and I agree, is kind of just doing what everybody else is doing. I'm a life coach and I can help everyone. So first mistake, I can help everyone.
Yeah,
And I do claim, like, to my family and friends, I'm a life coach. So yeah, it's like a GP. I can help
right.
people with relationships, people with this, and that. But I don't.
Right. Yes.
Because I don't want to help people with relationships. It doesn't bring me passion.
Hmm.
It doesn't light me up inside. But also it'd be like Pink coming out and saying, when you come to my concert, you're going to get opera music, you're going to hear
Right.
me sing pop, you're going to hear me sing jazz, like you're going to get this whole genre. I'm sure Pink can sing, and she
Oh,
can.
sure. Yeah.
Like, any
Right.
genre, but her rock star is pop.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's where I always think when I'm going off beat and going into that everyone land, because it's very hard to create a message for everyone. And that's the second mistake that coaches make, is you can't talk to everyone.
Right.
And also accept that not everyone needs what you're offering.
Hmm.
They just
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
It's like when you walk into Bunnings and you just want a screwdriver, even though there's 600,000 things you can buy,
Right.
you're just there for
Right.
the screwdriver.
Yep. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this also leads well into our next question. So what did not work recently that kind of surprised you? So what is something that like, you're like, yeah, I'm all in. This is gonna be it. This is gonna work,
Yep.
right? And like, how did you manage that pivot?
Yeah, yeah. So offers, right? I'm going to say offer.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out an offer. I'm going to do a come in 4 weeks for free, because I'm a big fan of people, to build trust. People need to get to know me and know that the thing that I'm addressing is actually going to help them. So
Yep.
my middle of funnel, it was all about, yep, providing an offer where you come in and you do my full-blown program. So it was live coaching once a week, access to my e-learning portal, like a paid client would, for 4 weeks. So I did that. So first time I did that, great. I had about 20 people register, and I like to keep small rooms because I like to be able to be intimate with everyone that comes in my coaching room.
Yeah.
Probably out of the 20, good 10 engaged. And out of that, the conversion was 8. So off to
Okay.
a good start. I was like, yep, this is all good. Happy with that, right?
Yeah.
I thought I'd do it again. Now, doing that again, yeah, not so good. So it wasn't so much about the numbers, but I still got really good engagement. 10 people, we literally, this morning was my last one of that. But it was the fact now I was double coaching. So I
Oh,
had
sure.
this first group go through. Now I've got this second group going through. So I've got now a paid group happening.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've got another free group. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I done? So strategically, I hadn't quite worked the offer through, then the people come through the client. Now I'm doubled the coaching I'm doing, which wasn't the game plan.
Hmm.
So strategy wise, I think when you're doing offers, so this is not about, a free offer, but providing a way of doing what you're already doing that's not going to create more hours in your week. So what does that
Right.
mean? So my next offer now is a masterclass,
Hmm.
which is already a masterclass that I'm providing to my clients. And the freebies will get an invite in as like a VIP to something that I'm already doing.
Yeah.
And that will form the next level of, well, then if you love that, then you're going to come in and whoosh, get to do the whole thing.
Yep. Ah, I love that. And I think that's so important. And just really like what a great way to pivot, like to realize, oh no, I've done this thing. I can't
Mm.
do this again, right? How am I going to
Yeah.
pivot? I think a lot of people get scared, right? When
Yeah.
they put something out there, it works once, the second time they do that, it doesn't work so well, and now they're like, "Oh, it's broken." It's like hot potato. I quit hot potato. I'm not touching it, right? And then they get scared, and that tells their brain that,
Yeah.
oh, this thing didn't work. So now they have like PTSD when they go to do it again, right? And they're like, oh, it didn't, the second time didn't work. What if it doesn't work again, right? And now those
Yeah.
thoughts become the actions and the things that are actually happening. So, I love that kind of real time pivoting that you
Yeah.
did, right? To be able
Yeah.
to show up
Yeah.
and move forward.
And it was my intention to do that in a way because I wanted to see how it was going to work. Because I
Right.
did it very differently with my BAM group over the years. So it was important to experience the pain. I think pain is good. But one thing I did learn about myself was emotionally. So as soon as I realized what I'd done, my energy vibrations dropped because I was like, ugh, what have I done?
Right.
And that you take into the coaching room. And I had done a coaching session, I would say last week, where I kept fumbling. It's a lesson I've done 600 times, can talk, golf balls underwater with this lesson, but I was fumbling. And I was quite angry with myself after because I was like, I did not serve to my best ability because I took this negative energy in, surrounded by this whole, oh my gosh, I've got to coach again. I've just done 20 hours of coaching already. Now, what have I done? So I had to shake that off because, as a coach, people, whether they're paying you or not, they're there to get results. And
Hmm.
I went in and checked in on every person that attended that day. Now, they didn't feel it. I felt it, but
Sure.
I wanted just to check in. So it's just important to, like, when you're creating change, making mistakes that you feel are your mistakes, you've got to really listen to your emotions and your energy
Yeah.
and reframe and refocus. Otherwise, that can take you down a negative path. Whereas my head was like, oh, I haven't got as many numbers in. Also, my conversion is going to be low. But just out of me kind of owning that, talking to everybody one on one, I converted 5 clients last week, and the program ended this week. So that was
Yeah.
still a good financial month for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
Um, Despite like how I was feeling, it's just about like when you're taking risks, testing,
Hmm.
you have a moment of like, oh my God, I'm failing epically. You've just got to kind of just give yourself a little like, hang on a sec, am I? No.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you feel it, then just again, servant's heart, reach out, get some feedback.
Right.
Feedback is good. I
Yeah.
wanted to hear, are you feeling the transformation? Are you hitting results? Where are you at now? In the last 3 weeks, you've done, like you've got to be open to getting feedback and hearing stuff that might be hard to hear.
Right. And I think, a lot of times people people are scared of receiving that feedback, right? They're scared of asking the question like, how are you doing? Are you liking it? Like, how are things going for you? Like I know for me when I owned the yoga studio, that was one of the things that I'm like, I forced myself to set up an email that went out after everyone attended a class. How did you like the
Yeah.
class? Rate the
Yeah.
class, right? Like tell me things
Yeah.
that you want more of or that you want
Yeah.
less of, right? And like
Yeah.
getting that feedback was like at first was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna say all these negative things. And then I started to realize
Yeah.
that no, they aren't. Like, and similar to you, there'd be days where I'd show up and I'd be in my head and just like by the end of class, I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this was not my best
Yeah.
class. And sometimes people would, get up and they'd be like, that was the best class I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
I'm like,
100%. Really?
okay, all right, yay.
Yeah. And you got to just take that because again, it's that we can fall into the trap of worrying about what other people think about us
Yep.
when we're in those low emotions, those negative emotions. If we're feeling frustration with ourselves, it
Hmm.
doesn't always manifest onto others. So,
Right.
yeah, feedback really important, whether we're pivoting, starting, or scaling. The more you ask, the more you can build from that.
Right. And I would say, especially if you're converting people, right? If you're going from that free space to the paid space, the 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 finances are in the follow-up, right? The
Yeah,
money is in the
yeah,
follow-up. Checking in, getting that feedback is
100%.
oftentimes where people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're checking on me one on,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I can't believe this," right? And it makes people feel so special. And
it
and it really brings that trust, the value, all of that to that relationship with that person.
Yeah, look, it does. And I'll be brutally honest, two ladies that I converted out of those five paid up front and also took on private services, literally because I made them feel that they were important and that they appreciated the follow up. They appreciated the hour I spent with them in a coaching session one on one,
Right.
where I was checking in, getting feedback, really wanting to know how they were going, where they were stuck. And they've done lots of coaching before and just felt that, that they had a coach that literally cared about them and not the big group, not the big numbers and stuff like that. So
Right.
it literally pays off
Yep.
when you wear that servant's heart.
Hmm.
Um, and check in with your freebies that are coming in for free. It's all about building trust. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Okay, so what is something that you would tell a past version of yourself about building momentum in your business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Probably a big bag of shush. Let me say that one. I would tell myself a big bag of shush because thoughts, the negative self-talk. I
Hmm.
remember when I started my business and I had this moment, and I actually did have coaching from Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi back in the days. Love those men. But I had this moment like, oh my God, I'm in the same niche as them.
Yeah.
Like, what am I thinking?
Uh-huh.
How am I going to take over the world and create impact when whilst they're in business? Like, that's not going to happen. And
Oh,
I just remembered sitting and staring and forgetting about the 30 years in marketing that I've just done in my career, the
right.
30 years being a leader, an executive, the 3 years I spent studying life coaching, like everything out the window.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
oh,
I had to give myself a big bag of shush because it was a ridiculous thought. It
mhm.
was. It truly was. And I reframed it. Just because I was a new coach, I wasn't a new leader.
Right. Right. And I
I
think
wasn't new to the game.
right. And I think a lot of people forget that as well. Especially people who are transitioning from maybe a corporate career
Yep.
into entrepreneurship, whether that's coaching or course creation or speaking or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
think when you make that, I know I definitely had some of those moments, right? I worked in corporate and then I left to pursue my photography business, and
Yeah,
then I bought a yoga
yeah,
studio.
amazing.
Right. And now I'm a coach.
Wow.
And, like sometimes I forget that, like, oh, I've actually been a leader for a long time and I know a lot about business. And I forget that.
Yeah.
Like, I still forget that, like 18 years into business. And I'm like, I don't know a thing about business. Who would, right?
I know. Who are you to know anything, Maggie? Hey,
Right.
I've got a niece called Maggie, and I call her Maggie Poos. So when I'm talking to her, I go, "Who are you, little Miss Maggie Poos?"
Oh, that's
Um,
funny.
I just realized you got the same name as my 1-year-old niece.
Oh,
Um, and that's the thing. I think when we're kind of in that space where we're giving ourselves like that I kind of call it when you watch a lot of footy, you see the coach is yelling at the players in a really negative,
right.
testosterone filled way. I always think, how is that motivating? But anyway, sometimes it works, I guess. But it's important to own like all the things that we've done, because entrepreneurship, once I realized I've been solving problems all my life,
Right.
and that's what
Mhm.
entrepreneurship is. We're problem doctors.
Right.
We're
Yes. Oh my
problem
gosh.
lovers. We love a problem.
Oh,
Give me a problem and I'll solve it for you. And no matter what niche or skill, like wherever you're working, it's actually your ability to solve problems that grows your business,
Mhm.
not your thing.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Okay, so we are to our last question. So we're going to wrap this up with this question. What does a millionaire mindset mean to you?
It means a millionaire mindset. It actually just means that you've come back to a place where you accept that abundancy, prosperity, peace, calm, and joy is the life that you want to have.
Hmm. I love that.
That's what it means to me.
Hmm.
Because when you accept that everybody has access to abundance and wealth, like everyone does,
Hmm.
and that's what you want for yourself, you've got to want it. You've got to have the desire. If you desire to be a millionaire, you will be a millionaire.
Hmm.
And then it's just what you do in between, working on yourself. Because, like I said, it's you that grows the business, not the thing.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being on the
You're
podcast
welcome.
today. Where can people connect with you? Let us know the best place.
Yes, I probably just follow me on Facebook, Paulina Xerri. There's my name, and I know it's Maltese, so it's Sherry, like the cheap wine, because that's me, the cheap version. But it's Sherry. Just follow me on Facebook. That's the easiest way for us to connect. You can shoot me a DM and just say hi, and I will share with you how to come into my world. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to start with that. It's the
Yeah.
easiest place.
Awesome. And we'll drop all the links below in the show notes so you can go ahead and connect with Paulina. Make sure you connect with both myself and Steph to make sure you hop into all of our adventures because we've got so
I
much
love
fun
it.
stuff coming. So, Paulina, thank you so much for being on
You're
today.
welcome,
Yeah,
Maggie.
it was so great to connect and so great to interview you. And we'll see you all in the next episode.